Hello, Excellence family. It's Danny Barnes, Director of Agent Relations with Excellence Realty, and I'm here with Paul Sardone, attorney with Excellence Title. Thanks for joining us. Hope everybody's doing well. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Good, Danny. How you guys doing?
Good. Paul's going to talk about life estate deeds today, and I have a little knowledge of that. I actually have one with my dad and my sister, so it's I'm looking forward to this one. So I'll turn it over to you, Paul, at this time.
All right, thanks, Danny. Yeah, I want to talk about the life estate deeds because it's a way of holding title that could potentially avoid probate issues when somebody passes away. So that's why it's very appealing to a lot of people who asset-wise may just have a property that they want to leave to their children, sister, brother, whatever it may be, but don't want to go through the will and the probate process. So the first thing to keep in mind when you say life estate deed, there's two types of life estate deeds. There's the general life estate deed in which you name a remainder person is what it's called, the person that you're going to leave the property to. So for example, if I deed my property and I put my two kids as remainders, they're the remaindermen on my deed. That's a general life estate deed. So the problem with that, the downside to it, the upside is if I walk outside and get hit by a bus, I know my kids are keeping that property, and they don't have to go through probate. They don't have to go through the whole 9 yards. The downside is anything that I want to do in my property with the general life estate deed, if I want to refinance my house, if I want to sell my house, they have to sign off on.
Interesting.
Yeah, they have to sign off on it. Also, if you have, especially with teenage children or young children or children that are just, or kids that are just starting out, may have some credit card debt or anything could happen. Any judgments that they get could attach to my property. So, my son, gets in some credit card debt, doesn't pay a card, he gets a judgment against him. That is going to be, when I go to sell my property, that's going to attach to it. So that's the downside of it. To get around that, there's a second type of life estate deed, which is generally my preferred option, which is an enhanced life estate deed, also known as a ladybird deed, if some of you have heard that term.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, in the enhanced life estate deed or ladybird deed, I do the same thing. I create remainders to my children. So the title's held in my name and they hold the remainder interest. But in this enhanced life estate deed, their interest only kicks in when I die. So they can't, if I can freely refinance, sell, I can remove them, I can change it, I can add people, subtract people, whatever I need to do without their input. And also any judgments that they would get would not attach to the property. So if one of them were to get married and go through a divorce, that in a regular life estate deed could potentially affect, could be marital assets, so it would be part of it. In an enhanced life estate deed situation, it generally is not and will not be affected. So for that reason, when I get asked about it, it's very, very rare. There's some transactions where, where banks don't want people to hold it under the enhanced life estate deed, but I haven't seen that in years. So it's important, if you're doing it, to do it correctly, because in my opinion, the enhanced life estate is a much better option. So
That's such great content. I mean, like my dad has that for my sister and I, and he did it because I think when his father passed away, they had to do the whole
go through the whole probate
yeah,
process.
go through the whole probate, and he kept having to present documents. Like my dad really did pass away, and he said it was a nightmare. So
Yeah, it can be the probate process.
yeah,
It can take months and sometimes even years, depending on the situation. And
he had to
it's
show
not cheap.
death certificates and stuff, and it was
It's not cheap, whereas you do the good thing with the setting up a life estate deed is you're keeping yourself on title, you're just naming remainderman. So it doesn't trigger having to pay doc stamps on the deed. So it's
right.
very cost effective compared to a probate, which would typically cost at least $2,000 to $3,000 in the most basic
Yeah.
probate case. Could get up into 5 figures if it's contested or if there's issues. So yeah, that's why I think it's important. People if you have an estate, let's say you have properties, you have stocks, you have retirement pensions, and then you probably need to go see an estate planning attorney, set up maybe a trust, to get with somebody who's an expert in that field and set yourself up that way. But if you just have the house that you live in and you want to leave that to your kids, I personally recommend this over. A lot of people say, "Oh, I have a will," but the will still has to be probated. It just gets admitted into the probate as evidence of what your wishes are, and then the judge eventually will sign off on it, provided it's a valid will, and it'll go that way. But you skip that whole part, the whole having to have your heirs go to court, and hire attorneys and all the stress of that. So if you guys need a life estate deed or have clients who may be interested, we're happy to help. I can discuss the legal impact of it with them, and that's what we're here for.
That's good information, man. I tell you, I say it every week. I've been doing this for a long time, and I learn something new every time we
Yeah.
do this. So I know you have a busy day, so I'm going to let you run. Great content today, and
All right.
thanks for tuning in, everybody, to Title Tuesday. And I'll see you in 2 weeks, Paul. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks. You too, Dan.
Thanks again. Good stuff.